The message from the New York City mayor tonight, we got him, because just now the suspect in the Brooklyn subway shooting is in custody. Coming up, we've got some new details about the arrest. You're going to hear from one of the witnesses who saw that go down with Frank James and what comes next in this investigation. Also breaking as we come on the air, President Biden giving another $800 million to help Ukraine's military as the mayor of Mariupol warns 100,000 people still cannot get out. A look at what Ukraine's president specifically wants and how the Kremlin's now responding to President Biden calling what they're doing genocide. Plus, 1 in 6 Americans in the path of severe storms tonight. We're live on the ground in Memphis, one of the many cities under a tornado watch right now. And we've got what Al Roker heard from former President Barack Obama about climate change as he joins us behind the scenes in tonight's Backstory. And if you're headed to the airport anytime soon, make sure to hold on to your masks. Why the CDC says it needs a little more time before figuring out whether to drop its mandate on planes. Plus, a San Francisco Giants coach breaking baseball's glass ceiling. How she says she was ready for this historic moment. The first woman to coach on a major league field. We've got that later on in the show. Hey, I'm Hallie, and a lot of folks in New York tonight are breathing a sigh of relief with this 2-day manhunt for the alleged Brooklyn subway shooter over just within the last few hours. And you're about to see the suspect, Frank James, in new video just into us, coming out of the NYPD's 9th precinct in Manhattan, not long after he got arrested in the East Village. That's it. That's him right there. We might see him again when he's in federal court tomorrow, with the city's police commissioner making the announcement that they caught him.
We hope this arrest brings some solace to the victims and the people of the city of New York. We were able to shrink his world quickly. There was nowhere left for him to run.
Police say they brought him in without any incidents and that a Crime Stoppers tip helped. We're going to talk more about that in just a second. Our Jesse Kirsch caught up with one of the witnesses who spotted James in Manhattan today. Watch.
When we saw this guy, we were like between 70 to 80% sure, is it him, is it not? So we pull up the picture, the Amber Alert on our phones. We saw the picture. So we confirmed it between the three of us. Oh, that's the guy. That's the 100% sure that's him.
We've also got this exclusive video into us from our New York station showing James hopping on the subway in Brooklyn's Park Slope around the time of the shooting yesterday morning. You know, he left behind a pile of evidence. James is accused of shooting 10 people at the 36th Street station in Brooklyn. 13 other people got hurt in the panic. Right? You can see some of those images here. Smoke coming out of that subway train car. 5 victims are still in the hospital, but luckily they are expected to survive. We're going to break down the next steps in this investigation with Pete Williams. We've also got Chris Jansing on the scene. And Pete, I actually want to start with you because I understand that quite literally as we were coming on the air, you were learning from a source about who specifically called in this Crime Stoppers tip, and it sounds like it's not the person we would expect.
Well, law enforcement officials have said that what happened here is that Frank James himself called the NYPD tip line and said, I understand you're looking for me. I'm at a McDonald's in the East Village. Told them where, said he was trying to charge up his phone and that he was going to leave there shortly. They obviously responded very quickly and didn't see him at the McDonald's, but as you heard at the police news conference today, he was spotted a short time later, some distance away, and immediately arrested without incident. So if what we believe is correct here is that it's he himself who, in essence, not quite literally turned himself in, but called the police that made one of the calls that led the police to him. Now, there have been other calls, we're told, but that is probably the key one.
And he was in this, you know, Chris Jansing knows the city well, Pete, as you know. And Chris, I'll bring you back into the conversation here, too, because this is the East Village, popular sort of area of Manhattan, popular neighborhood in Manhattan. And James, for the last, 36 hours or so, as the citywide manhunt has been going on, had been able to move fairly freely in New York.
Yeah, part of the craziness of this, and that's a word I'm using that I've heard from other people, they think it's wild the way this all unfolded. Because frankly, one of the questions I got a lot this morning when I was talking to people early in the day as they were getting ready to commute on that same subway line is, where do they think he's hiding? I mean, the perception was that he was in hiding somewhere, or maybe he had even left the state, he had fled. In the end, this is one of the busiest, reliably busiest, most popular areas of New York, certainly of the Lower East Side. He's at this McDonald's, right? Police go there, and they find him a couple of blocks away on St. Mark's Place. If you've ever been to St. Mark's Place, you probably know it. It's a very hip area. There's a lot of retail. There's a a lot of restaurants. And so he was actually out there in plain sight, deciding that his final meal was going to be at McDonald's. I mean, obviously leading up to this, and you heard the NYPD police commissioner saying, you know, we were closing in on him. There was nowhere for him to run, and they had amassed a lot of evidence, and we got that sense all day long, Hallie. But in the end, it was a Crime Stoppers tip line, which was already surprising to a lot of people. But then when you add to that who the caller was, it's almost unbelievable.
Pete, let me go back to that, too, because as Chris points out, this was wall-to-wall on cable news nationally, right, over the last, for sure yesterday. It was on, you know, network morning shows this morning. This person's face was everywhere. Do we have any sense, as you're talking to your sources, and the answer might be no, but do we have any sense of what took him so long, then, if he did make this call to the Crime Stoppers tip line to, in essence, call himself in?
No, I don't think we know that yet. They're questioning him, or at least trying to question him. I don't know whether he's cooperating and answering their questions or not, but I'm sure that's one of the things they'll ask him. But I don't think they have any idea, at least at this point. And
this particular statute that he's charged under, it is not a specific, I think you explained this, it's not a specific terror charge, but it is for an act of terrorism or mass violence, or violence, I should say, on mass transportation. Where does the investigation go from here?
Well, there's such an amazing amount of evidence here, because there is the rental of the U-Haul, which court authorities say he did Monday in Philadelphia. Then, and he rented it in his own name at the U-Haul place in Philadelphia. Then he drives it into Brooklyn. He's seen on surveillance video driving it in. Then he parks the U-Haul van. Then he is seen leaving the U-Haul van on surveillance video, seen entering the subway. Then, after the shooting, astonishingly, he leaves behind this incredible trove of evidence. He leaves behind the bag of fireworks that he bought from the fireworks store that says he bought these fireworks in his own name. He leaves behind a bank card with his own name on it. He leaves behind the key to the van, which is what leads authority to the van. And most importantly at all, authorities say he left behind the gun that he used in the shooting, the Glock Model 17 gun. Now, all guns have a serial number on them, and as a matter of fact, to tie this back to what President Biden was talking about earlier this week, ghost guns don't have serial numbers. But the gun that he bought 11 years ago, the Glock Model 17, does have a serial number on it. Now, authorities say in court documents that he tried to scratch it out unsuccessfully, but that is the number that they were able to use to trace him to the crime. That's the key piece of evidence that caused them last night to shift from calling him a person of interest to calling him the suspect. And it's mentioned in the court documents. There's a photo of the weapon, a close-up photo showing him showing where somebody had tried to scratch off the serial number. But that's a key piece of evidence there.
Chris, New Yorkers, it felt like almost immediately after this arrest was announced, found out about it where you are. And I know that you talked to people who, on the one hand, did feel that sense of relief, but on the other, there's still this open question of why he did this. Why this shooter
what's
did this.
the motive? And there has been nervousness surrounding this for sure, right? Because people had already been on edge because of rising crime, not just above ground, but underground here in New York City. What really surprised me was that talking to people, again, before the arrest, was a number of people who brought up the fact that the camera that was closest to the shooting wasn't working. In fact, one woman told me she always felt safe going into the subway because she thought the cameras were there to protect her. Let me play for you just really quickly what one other commuter told me after we found out about all this.
Make sure that the cameras actually work. I don't know, get the individuals on the train some help, some mental health, some programs. I don't know how you plan for what the individual did yesterday.
So yes, relief, 100% relief that the suspect is in custody, but also a lot of lingering questions for both the mayor and the governor. The mayor, of course, as you know, Hallie, who ran on making this city safer.
That's right. Chris Jansing on the scene. Thank you. Pete Williams with that piece of developing news that apparently, according to sources, Pete, this Crime Stoppers tip was called in by the suspect himself. Pete, thank you for breaking that here with us on NBC News Now. Want to get to some other headlines, including to Ukraine, where we're also getting some new details on that front about millions of dollars to help Ukraine's military. Right as the mayor of Mariupol says his city has more than 100,000 innocent people who are hoping to get out, with officials accusing Russia of blocking their attempts to try to do that today. This is the latest we're getting on the ground. Take a look. You see that appears to be a Russian tank. You catch that Z? Do you see that right on the back, obviously? Moscow says that Z means for victory, right? We think that's a Russian tank. You got buildings torn apart by those strikes. Russia is claiming more than 1,000 Ukrainian troops have surrendered. And it's happening as the humanitarian crisis there is getting worse. UNICEF says nearly 1.5 million people in the east there just don't even have running water. Mariupol's mayor saying his city is down, but it is not out.
They have destroyed the critical infrastructure in the town. There's no running water, no electricity, no cell coverage. But they are holding out, and the city of Mariupol remains a Ukrainian city.
Mariupol's mayor also says at least 20,000 people have been killed in his city. I want to bring in NBC's Hallie, who is live for us in Ukraine. And Hallie, those are not numbers that we can confirm here at NBC News, but he's been adamant, right, that even with this offensive from the Kremlin, sieging the city, essentially, Ukraine, he says, is still in control.
That's right, Hallie. Look, for 49 days, the Russians have been pounding the living daylights out of that city, but they haven't been able to capture it, according to the mayor, according to all the reports we've been hearing. But the people there are living under appalling conditions. The humanitarian disaster there is bigger than anywhere else in this country. The number of civilians killed there is probably going to be the largest we see in this country, but they're holding strong there. There's about 1,000 people from the far-right Azov brigade fighting in that city, holding the Russians off, and they just don't want to give it up because it's such a strategic place, both for the Russians and the Ukrainians. But what's going to emerge out of there is going to be heartbreaking and devastating, Hallie.
We also know that Hallie, to say the least, right? It's hard to put into words how awful I think the expectation is for what we're going to see. Part of the reason, right, that what we're seeing is why the U.S. is giving more military help to Ukraine today. We know President Biden spoke with the Ukrainian president, President Zelensky, about laying out this other $800 million in help. And Zelensky has a very specific wish list in this new video that includes more planes. Let me play that.
Military aircraft must have to deblock our cities and save millions of Ukrainians as well as millions of Europeans.
He also asked for tanks, air defense systems, more, etc. But we're seeing how Ukraine's struggling to get help, humanitarian help, to the east. How are they getting military help out there?
Well, they're getting stuff from the west of the country, and the Ukrainians are very savvy. They know how to get this stuff around on the ground, how to divert Russian checkpoints. But it's that point you mentioned. They need to fight them on the air, and that's where they're weak. We spoke to the mayor of Kramatorsk, who is that city where that train station got bombed, and he goes, look, we can fend them off on the ground, but it's the air support we need. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
You see that the Putin's army has, as for today, no chance to get us in cycle on the ground. They are strong only in the air.
He said if they had air defense systems in position at Kramatorsk at that time, maybe they could have averted that strike on the railway station that killed 57 people now.
Hallie, live for us in Lviv. Hallie, thank you. The Kremlin today responding to President Biden, now calling what they're doing in Ukraine genocide, with Russia, unsurprisingly, saying it's not acceptable in their view for the president to use that term. And while Moscow may be slamming that assessment, an international team of investigators is on the ground in Ukraine, gathering evidence from the bodies of Ukrainians killed by Russian troops to try to figure out if crimes have been committed. So when exactly does violence in a war become genocide? What's the tipping point? We'll explain, but before we do, that warning that has become devastatingly common in this show lately. Some of the images you're about to see are disturbing. By now, you've seen the horrific pictures out of Ukraine. Bodies in the streets of Bucha, mass graves, and survivor stories of indiscriminate killing, torture, and rape by Russian soldiers.
The only thing they know is people dead, people with their hands tied, people tortured, murdered, and this just breaks my heart.
Now, President Biden calling what's happening in Ukraine genocide.
Yes, I called it genocide because it's become clearer and clearer that Putin is just trying to wipe out the idea of even being able to be a Ukrainian. And the evidence is mounting.
It's the furthest he's gone so far in describing what Russia's doing, coming just days after he said Vladimir Putin should be tried for war crimes.
This guy is brutal.
Genocide is not just a word for mass killings. A United Nations treaty that the U.S. signed formally defines genocide as actions taken with the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. The treaty came out of World War II and the Holocaust, when Nazi Germany systematically killed some 6 million Jews. Under that UN treaty, simply showing that Russian soldiers intentionally killed Ukrainians is not enough to declare genocide.
We found 650 dead bodies.
Instead, it would need to be proven in international court that the killings were an intentional effort to wipe out the Ukrainian people. Bottom line, President Biden may use the word now, but whether a genocide can be declared legally, that's still up in the air.
I think the president has consistently been ahead of the curve in calling out what's going on in all of its awful functionality. And I think the more he does that, the more the system will work to catch up with him.
The International Criminal Court has opened an investigation into war crimes in Ukraine, but barring some kind of revolution or coup in Russia, putting Vladimir Putin on trial is nearly impossible. That's because the court can't do anything without a referral from the UN Security Council, where Russia has a veto. The Biden administration can make its own formal determination of genocide outside of an international court's findings, as the U.S. has done 8 separate times, including last month when the Secretary of State declared Myanmar's military committed genocide against the Rohingya minority, something that, by the way, took the U.S. 6 years to determine. Other developing news here at home tonight. If you're about to get on a plane or get on Amtrak, keep that mask handy, because that federal mandate that was supposed to end next Monday is now going to stay in place for another couple weeks. The CDC is saying it wants to look more closely at what they're calling the potential impact the rise of COVID cases has on severe disease, including hospitalizations and deaths. In other words, they need a little bit more time to figure this out. And when it comes to public transport, people are moving. We're all going places. Look at these TSA screenings in just the last few months. Look at that jump. It's certainly an upward trajectory, and it's the airline companies that have been wanting this mandate to end. Check out Delta's CEO on CNBC today, right before this extension was announced.
I feel very strongly that the mask mandate should be lifted and let individuals, including our own employees, make their own decisions and take personal accountability for their health on board our planes.
Tom Costello is joining us now here on set. You know, it's interesting to hear from the Delta CEO. I know you've talked with him, too. I think a lot of these airlines feel like bad behavior on planes is being driven in part by this mask mandate. Yeah. They want it over. They're like, we've got HEPA filters. CDC is saying, not just yet. Hold your horses.
In fact, I talked to the Delta Airlines CEO 3 weeks ago in Los Angeles, and he was even more adamant. He was saying, enough. Yeah. Done with it. Our customers are angry. Our own employees are fed up with it. He said, I'm tired of this. And they make the point, in fact, Airlines for America, the trade group that represents all airlines, said today, why don't we lean into the science and why don't we lean into with the stats? Because what they're looking at in particular is the fact that you can go to a bar and not wear a mask, right? Most people live in counties across the country without a mask mandate. So then why is it required on planes? On the CDC side, they are concerned about the subvariant. It is called BA2, I should say, BA2, responsible for about 85% of the new cases. And yeah, there are new cases. 500 people are dying every single day, still because of COVID, just in this country. They want to understand a little better. They want a little more time here. But listen, as you know, the traveling public is fed up with it. They want to move on.
What's interesting is that you've got these public health officials now federally trying to walk this line, because on the one hand, you do have the CDC, as you said, saying, yes, loosen up on mask restrictions in places where there is low transmission. Yeah. The messaging optically from the White House is things are getting back to normal. But on the other hand, this is a very visible reminder for people on a spring break week as we're heading into, May, that no, it's not actually back to normal just yet.
Well, and as you know, over the last 2 years, we have seen these massive parties of young people, especially partying for spring break, and then immediately followed by an outbreak of COVID in that particular area. They are walking a very difficult fine line. Imagine that you are one of those public health officials. You're trying to follow the science. The science suggests that this is still a subvariant that is spreading very fast. 10% of the people who went to the Gridiron dinner here in Washington a week ago got sick. And you had to have been vaxxed and show proof that you were testing negative to get in the door, and still 10% came down with it. So this is clearly spreading very quickly.
So I know that you are not necessarily a betting person, Tom, and I would never ask you to pull out your crystal ball and make a prediction. But as a reporter, right, when you're talking to sources around this, jump ahead to May 3rd. You know, because that's the decision point is going to come up again quick. There's another inflection point coming up in less than a month now.
And pressure is on. I mean, just as you and I were sitting on MSNBC doing a live shot about an hour and a half ago, I was getting emails from the U.S. Travel Association saying, enough already, you're killing our business. They're worried about people not being able to travel into the United States. The business community still isn't back up to the pre-pandemic levels. My bet is that they're going to get rid of the mask mandate on May 3rd. But I would have bet that for this coming Monday. I mean, I was really surprised that they extended it by another 2 weeks, but I understand the science that they're looking at as well.
Yeah, and the CDC has said, Dr. Walensky, you know, travel is a little bit different than people who are staying in their communities.
They are facing such public outrage, 7,000 cases of bad behavior, 70% tied to the mask mandate. That, you know, people are really fed up.
You know the golden rule of flying, though, Tom. Just don't be a jerk on a plane.
Yeah, well,
you know, that's it.
Didn't you and I came up with that golden rule about 2 weeks ago?
Tom
Don't
Costello,
be a jerk.
Thank you so much. Good to see you. Appreciate you bringing us that reporting.
See you later.
So, as we look at the landscape of what's happening across the country, bad weather, right? 35 million of us at risk for some really tough storms tonight. We're talking winds up to 75 miles an hour, hail, more tornadoes, if you can believe it. And there's a place that's most at risk, this 1,000-mile stretch we're about to show you from the Great Lakes to the Gulf Coast. Week number 4 in a row that the country has seen this outbreak of bad weather like this. We've seen reports of 8 tornadoes in the last 24 hours, 6 in Iowa, 2 in Texas. Officials say 24 people were hurt after one twister touched down in Bell County, Texas. That area has also seen hail that is rather humongous. Look at this hand-sized lump of ice somebody found. Imagine that falling on your car or your roof. Al Roker is joining us now with the forecast. Al, what is the expectation for where this goes from here?
Well, here's the deal, Hallie. We're hoping this is just about it as it makes its way to the east. But as you can see, we've got a pretty wide swath of tornado watches stretching from Kentucky all the way down into eastern Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. And we've got some tornado warnings cropping up, one in northern Louisiana, also just on the border there in western Tennessee. We're going to be watching these very closely tonight. 31 million people at risk now. They've shaved the risk area down just a bit to the north, but we're still talking about significant wind gusts, nocturnal tornadoes possible. And these are the ones that we've been seeing during these outbreaks, and damaging hail 2 inches or larger, as you just showed. So here's the storm impacts. This area in blue from Evansville down to Jackson, 75-mile-per-hour winds or stronger. The storm's organized into a squall line, and that spreads widespread thunderstorm wind damage. We're also looking at EF3 or stronger tornadoes, long track tornadoes. The greatest risk goes into tonight, those nocturnal. Nashville's in this, Evansville, Memphis, Greenville, down to Alexandria, Little Rock. So we're going to be watching this very closely tonight. And then tomorrow, as the line makes its way into the East Coast, 28 million people at risk. Hartford, New York, Philadelphia, lesser risks as we get down the I-95 corridor. But we're going to be watching this very, very closely. So for tonight, severe storms racing through the Tennessee Valley, flooding possible from Missouri all the way down to Louisiana. Tomorrow, the system makes its way into the Northeast, New England, along the I-95 corridor. High winds, heavy rain, and could be some hail as well as this pushes through. The heaviest rain is going to be down in the lower Mississippi River Valley. We're talking areas of flooding likely, probably because the ground already saturated from 3 previous weeks of heavy rain, the way it's looking right now. And out west, more snow, drifting snow, dangerous conditions. If there's a silver lining, Hallie, it's here on the West Coast. The Sierra Nevada are going to be, the Sierras, I should say, are going to be picking up copious amounts of snow. That's good news because they haven't gotten a lot. And of course, that's water in the reservoir bank, if you will, for those folks out there.
Al Roker, I'm going to do something a little different tonight. I'm going to ask you to hang out for a couple minutes because we're going to go behind the scenes to talk about your exclusive interview with former President Barack Obama later on in the show. You know the backstory segment, right?
Pardon?
You know the backstory. I mean, this is like tell us what it's like. We want to know the real juice, Al. So think about that.
I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going back here. This is where the Weather Clubhouse is.
Okay, cool.
So I'll be back here, and I'll check you out a little bit later.
Thank you, sir.
Hey,
bye, Al. See you soon. Coming up here on the show, Allison Felix, the most decorated U.S. Olympic track and field athlete, making a huge announcement on Instagram. We're going to tell you what it is and the 5 things. Plus, an inside look at El Salvador's crypto experiment. It made Bitcoin its official national currency last year. So how's that working out? It's Scotty Schwartz. He's going to be with us in a minute. Today, Brazil is coming one step closer to regulating cryptocurrencies with this new proposed law that would lay out rules for Bitcoin and for other cryptos in that country. It's looking to encourage more innovation in the Brazilian crypto market. But northwest of Brazil, in El Salvador, they're already using crypto officially. They're using Bitcoin. That's their official national currency. It's the first country in the world to do that. They've been at it for the past 7 months. But in one popular tourist spot where it looks like Scotty Schwartz went surfing, a lot of places aren't even using it.
Hola, ¿ustedes aceptan Bitcoin? No, solamente efectivo? Only cash? No, okay. ¿Toman Bitcoin? Bitcoin? No, okay. Bitcoin? No, tampoco.
The president there brought Bitcoin with some promises, saying that adopting it would modernize El Salvador's economy, that would give it some independence from the U.S. dollar and lower the fees that Salvadorians who live abroad pay transferring money back home, which has become a big part of the economy. As you've seen, Gotti was there. He is joining us now after a trip where I'm sure you didn't surf at all, Gotti, clearly. You were only there, I know, to report on this crypto. It's interesting, because I'm very interested in this, and I've been reading about this El Salvador experiment for months now. And the question at the start was, is it really going to work? Are people really going to get into it? And it feels like what you're coming back and saying is kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah, Hallie, I was in the exact same boat. I was researching as much as I could, and I really didn't know what we were going to find there, because you got people saying that it's working like a charm. You got other people saying that it's not working at all. And I can tell you, seeing a society where crypto is accepted, you see it as soon as you get to the airport, and it materializes in the form of these big Chivo ATMs, which are the ATMs that you go to exchange cash, turn it into this digital currency. And then when you go out into the city, San Salvador, around El Salvador, you've got soldiers that are standing guard at these Chivo ATMs. But I got to tell you, a lot of those ATMs, they didn't have people standing in line. In fact, we were the only people that were using Bitcoin almost everywhere we went. And I'll give you just a quick story here.
Yeah.
It's difficult to use. So when you go shopping for everyday items, we went to go try to buy some groceries with Bitcoin. And we ended up holding up the line there. The line clearly said, accept Bitcoin here. They only saw maybe 20 people that week that were paying in Bitcoin. But we held up that line for 10 minutes. People lining up behind us as we waited for just the simple transaction to go through. So almost like imagine what it would be like if you're standing there trying to pay with your credit card and then somehow that credit card transaction isn't going through. We were told it failed on the store end at the end of this, but it went through on our end. So we ended up double paying. We just paid for cash to get those groceries.
Yeah.
But we paid in Bitcoin and we just paid in normal U.S. dollars as well. So in terms of practical application, not a lot of El Salvadorians seem to be using it.
And I'm sure with those people in line behind you, you're trying to get out the way. What's interesting, too, is like 70% of people in El Salvador don't have bank accounts. So I think the thinking initially was this could be helpful. It sounds like that is, based on even just that anecdote, a huge question mark. In the course of your reporting, does it seem like the government's going to stick with it despite some of these, glitches?
Absolutely, because right now on paper, a lot of those same premises stand. So you've got a place where 70% of the country doesn't have access to a bank. Then that means they don't have access to things that we take for granted, like saving money in a secure place. And so for them, Bitcoin is the first example that they've seen where they can easily carry around their money in a place that fits in their pocket. It's not like cash, which they described as, just falling out of your pocket or just falling through the fingertips and something that can be stolen at any time. So when they see that money going into their Bitcoin wallets and growing, that's something that they appreciate. However, when it comes to paying, all of this currency at the end of the day is all about trust. And when there are glitches in the system, when there are long transaction fees, and when sometimes the money just disappears, that doesn't, it's horrible for trust. So right now, the Salvadorians we spoke to, they trust their president overwhelmingly. But when it comes to Bitcoin, they're still undecided.
Yeah, jury's still out on that one. Gotti, can I just ask you really quickly the question that I know everybody has right now, which is, how was the surfing?
It was beautiful. Yeah. I mean, the water was so warm. In fact, there were a couple places where we didn't go out because the waves were way too big.
So epic, yeah.
But yeah, sunset, warm water, pupusas, it was amazing.
No, like when you want to trade spots, man, you just let me know. Gotti Schwartz. Thank you, sir. Good. Always good to see you. We're going to have a lot more of Gotti's reporting later on tonight over on Nightly News at 6:30 Eastern. The in-depth version then. Don't miss it. Let's get you over to the 5 things now our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1. More than 250 people have been killed after floods in the east coast of South Africa. You've had crazy heavy rains that have just been pounding that area over the last few days. Roads, homes destroyed. Even look at this. Some bridges have been washed away. It is the country's deadliest storm on record. Number 2, at least 10 people are dead and more than a dozen people hurt after a truck crashed into a tourist bus in Egypt. It happened on a highway near the city of Luxor. The bus burst into flames after the truck hit it. Officials are still trying to figure out what caused all this. Number 3, some of the biggest stores are rationing baby formula to deal with a shortage all across the country. Walmart, Target, Kroger, they're limiting how much formula you can buy in stores and online. We've told you before about recalls of certain brands that made some babies sick. Seems like those recalls have hurt the market pretty badly. Number 4, Allison Felix, track and field superstar. Guess what? She is retiring after the 2022 season. This is her last season running. She made that announcement on Instagram, saying she's given the sport everything she's got. The 36-year-old broke the record for the most U.S. track and field medals at the Tokyo Olympics last summer. Felix says she'll be making some big announcements soon about what comes next. And by the way, you saw her with her daughter there. She has been a huge advocate for women and for moms in her sport. Number 5, Krispy Kreme doing its part to offer a little bit of relief at the gas station. Every Wednesday for the next 4 weeks, you can get a dozen original glazed donuts for the price of a gallon of gas. Okay, so it's based off the national average. Today, it would be $4.11 for 12 donuts. Not bad. You know what Krispy Kreme's calling it? Donut deflation. All right, we see you. When we come back, a new Alabama law makes gender-affirming care for trans and non-binary kids a felony. And now some of the kids and parents one of our correspondents spoke with say they feel targeted and terrified. Yamiche Alcindor joins us after the break. And then later, some scary video out of Florida. Look at this, showing a dolphin slamming into a trainer during an aquarium show. We've got an update on that trainer's condition coming up in a minute. Coming up later this hour, why a woman tried to glue herself to the court at an LA Clippers game. We're going to have that story in the local. But first, we're hearing from young transgender kids in Alabama who say they are terrified living there after Governor Kay Ivey signed off on a law criminalizing gender-affirming care for young people. Our Yamiche Alcindor spoke to some kids who feel targeted. One of them was so concerned for his safety, he chose not to reveal his identity on camera. Watch.
It's ridiculous, and it's hateful, and it makes children feel like villains for living. If I'm old enough for my identity to be politicized at every toss and turn that the world has given me, I think I'm old enough to make my own decisions.
Me and hundreds of other trans kids in the state of Alabama would lose our guide to ourselves and our own life and our own happiness.
The law is one of 2 aimed at the LGBTQ+ community that were signed on Friday, making it a felony for medical professionals to give gender-affirming care to anybody under the age of 19. It's the most extreme example of these types of laws because doctors could face up to a decade behind bars if they break it. And it's part of a kind of a trend in this country. In the first 4 months of this year, 325 bills, according to the HRC, targeting the LGBTQ+ community have been introduced. 8 of them have become law. Yamiche is with us now to talk about this. And Yamiche, listening to those interviews that you did, it's emotional. I mean, you can tell how raw this is for these children who are affected here.
These transgender youth that I spoke to are scared for their lives. They say that this is care that they desperately need to stay healthy both physically and mentally. And by the way, medical professionals, the teams that are working with them, they say that this is also medically necessary. The American Academy of Pediatrics says it is dangerous to criminalize medically necessary gender-affirming care. So what we see here is really families going up against the legislature. The other thing to note is that some of the kids that I talked to, including Kay, an 18-year-old transgender man, as well as her little sister, who is also a transgender, a young girl. They say that they might move out of the state of Alabama, but moving is going to be complicated because, as you just noted, Alabama is not the only state doing this. In 2021, it was actually, according to LGBTQ advocates, it was the worst year on record for LGBT rights and these laws because 268 were proposed and 27 of those laws became law.
I know that you talked with one of the sponsors, Republican sponsors of this bill. I know you also talked with the ACLU, right, where it feels like this is all but certain to be facing some legal challenges. Are supporters of this law ready for that? Because it feels like there is a bit of a legal onslaught coming based on, I think, some of the reporting that you're doing.
Certainly. As soon as this law was signed, the lawsuit started being filed. Now, supporters of this bill, including Wes Allen, who you mentioned, they say that this is about protecting kids. But the people who are against these laws, including the ACLU, they say that they're already suing, already in court to try to get this law stopped from being enacted on May 8th, which is when it's supposed to be enacted. Here's what some of the people that I talked to told me.
We just don't want them making decisions at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old that's going to have long-term lasting effects on their body.
We're going to be arguing first that this is a violation of the equal protection rights of kids, that they are being discriminated against based on their status as trans individuals.
Now, I should tell you, even though, of course, there are both sides of this, people who are against these laws say that this really isn't an argument about both sides. It's really medical professionals and people who have studied this against legislators that they say are really politicking because it's an election year. So there's a lot here, a lot moving through the courts. We'll have to keep watching to see how this ends up because, as we said, there are so many laws being passed. But the ACLU says they are ready for the fight, Hallie.
And as you point out, Yamiche, I think it's important to just really quickly underscore this. This is, I mean, a decade behind bars for some of these medical professionals, right? This is the most certainly stringent of these laws that we've seen pass as it relates to gender-affirming care.
Absolutely. Alabama has gone farther than any other state. They're making it a felony. They're saying that nurses and doctors would be thrown in jail for practicing medical care that they believe is necessary for these transgender kids. And I also should tell you, I talked to a doctor who said right now she's weighing between going to jail and providing care and really sticking to her oath to do no harm, because she says, if I do no harm, that means that I might actually end up having to go to jail. And if I pull out this medical care, I might leave a vulnerable population, people who are already prone to being suicidal, that they might be even in a worst case scenario if this medical care is not provided to them.
Yamiche Alcindor, thank you so much for being with us live from Alabama. It's good to see you. Coming up, Sherri Papini, remember her in court today after admitting to lying about a 2016 abduction that set off a nationwide search. What we're learning about a potential plea deal after the break. Plus,
how does it feel being in this national park?
Well, you know what? Anytime we get out of the city and we're among trees and woods and critters, I feel better.
Al Roker with former President Barack Obama on preserving national parks, our planet, even parenting. We're going to get into that interview and our backstory in just a minute. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day, and because you couldn't possibly read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. From our West Coast Bureau, a hotel that was under construction in Southern California. Look at this. It just caught fire overnight. Winds pushed those big flames close to a pretty big highway. Luckily, nobody was hurt either at the hotel or on the road. Officials are still trying to figure out what caused it. From our Southeast Bureau, the new video shows a dolphin attacking a trainer, or at least pushing into a trainer at an aquarium show in Florida. The Miami Seaquarium said the dolphin and trainer, in their view, accidentally collided and the dolphin got spooked. The trainer's okay. The aquarium hasn't canceled any shows after what happened. And from our Midwest Bureau, a woman tried to glue herself to the court at last night's game between the LA Clippers and Minnesota Timberwolves. Why? She wanted to protest one of the owners of the Timberwolves, the majority owner, over a farm he owns. He reportedly had to kill chickens there because of a bird flu outbreak. This animal activist was seen wearing a shirt that said, "Glenn Taylor roasts animals alive," before she was taken off the court. The California mom charged with lying about being kidnapped, facing a judge tonight, where our team inside the courtroom said she looked thin and frail and on the verge of tears. Sherri Papini signed a plea deal yesterday, admitting she made the whole thing up. And now she's saying sorry. She's apologizing. Her lawyer releasing a statement with Papini saying, "I am deeply ashamed of myself for my behavior and so very sorry for the pain I've caused my family, my friends. I will work the rest of my life to make amends for what I've done." Remember, Papini disappeared back in 2016 for weeks. It was a huge national headline, huge national search. Remember this?
We're going to move now to a story that has fascinated the nation since 2016. Sherri Papini.
A lot of folks will remember the case of Sherri Papini.
It was a match of DNA evidence from a piece of Sherri Papini's clothing to a bottle from green tea like this.
Authorities now say Sherri Papini made it all up.
She claimed 2 women kidnapped her at gunpoint and branded her, but she was actually staying with an ex-boyfriend who acknowledged that he branded her because she asked him to. Papini agreed to plead guilty to 1 count of mail fraud and 1 count of lying to a law enforcement officer. The charges carry a total of 25 years in prison. Joining me now is Steve Patterson. And Steve, gut check me here. Was this plea deal not a bit of a surprise to folks?
You know, it's pretty stunning considering the fact that she maintained that she was kidnapped for years, since 2016, since that initial story broke, and that she was presented evidence from federal investigators as early as 2020, denied that evidence, saying that she lied about it, despite knowing that lying to federal authorities is a crime. Look, I think she knew there was a plea deal on the table. Her team recommended taking that plea deal, knowing probably the bounty of evidence against her and knowing that taking a plea deal would lead to a more reduced end of the scale of sentencing coming from prosecutors. They've already said that they will do that. And the notion that, you know, after the notion of wasting federal tax dollars, the notion of wasting hours and hours of manpower from detectives, the notion, you know, of wasting everybody's time, that having another long, drawn-out court battle would probably be a hard pill to swallow. And then on the other end, prosecutors got what they usually look for in cases like this, which is a signed confession and apology. Usually works toward healing much more than throwing the book at somebody that I think a lot of people would say clearly needs some mental health help. Hallie?
When you talk penalties here, it's not just the potential for going behind bars. She's also expected to have to pay back quite a bit of money.
Yeah, $500,000 if you total everything in those 2 charges, and then another $300,000 in the plea deal for restitution, going to local authorities, going to state authorities, going to federal authorities. Remember, she was paid from victim services since 2016, since 2017, I should say, for being thought of as a victim all that time. She needs to pay that back. That's part of the deal.
Steve
Hallie.
Patterson live with us for that. Steve, thanks very much for that reporting. Time now to get the backstory, our behind-the-scenes look at how a story comes together and how it fits into our bigger picture. So we're bringing back Al Roker to talk about his exclusive interview with Barack Obama, the former president, just dropping a new series on Netflix to try to shine a light on national parks and how we can protect them for the next generations. He says the focus is on treating the environment better. During his conversation with Al, the former president also talked about fatherhood, life after politics, and a whole lot more. He says he misses the presidency, but he's happy doing what he can on this fight against climate change. Here's a clip.
I'm hoping that we're going to learn something not just about how to maintain national parks, but why it's so important to deal with issues like climate change that threaten the entire planet.
In fact, we have younger kids, Sasha Malia, this generation that demands us being better caretakers.
Yeah.
Will people seeing this heed that call?
Well, I think that the generation of our kids are more mindful of how we haven't always taken care of the planet. And with climate change affecting everything, they are demanding action. Nature is more resilient than we think if we are intentional about it.
In addition to spending his time out in nature, former President Obama has been navigating some political terrain, returning to the White House for the very first time just last week. How did that feel?
Well, you know, it was wonderful to see some of the old team. The fact that I could leave, though, was nice.
The former president's also launching an initiative called Wild for All to encourage people to get outside and learn more about conserving nature. Al is back with us. Al, your first backstory. We're so excited to have you, so thank you.
Thank you.
I think you know this segment. It really is a look behind the curtain. Like, take us behind the scenes with you, because you've interviewed a lot of big timers. You know, but
Yes.
here you are. You've got the former president and an issue that I know you care about, which is climate change, right? How did this all come together?
Well, you know, obviously, they've been working on this Netflix documentary series for 3 years. It drops tonight, and today, I should say. And our team at the Today Show had been working with his team, the president's team, about doing something with him. And he's so passionate about this. And they know that I'm passionate about climate. And so it seemed to work out. Now, of course, you know, there are a lot of logistics with a former president. And we wanted to pick a national park that was accessible and easy to get to, and wanted to involve kids. He's very passionate about this next generation. And those kids you saw were from the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Washington. And we had a national park scavenger hunt. Our team won. And
Not that you were tracking.
Yeah, but it was not. But who's counting? But it was really very special in that, you know, to see somebody. You know, we hear about presidents' passions, but to watch it in action is a whole nother thing entirely.
You talked about the kids from the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Washington. We have some footage of that, of you on the scavenger hunt with them. And I wonder what it was like just generally showing up. You know, I live in D.C. I know Great Falls very well. I've been there many times. But showing up with Barack Obama, right? I mean, this is just outside Washington. Was it a total scene? Were there like a ton of Secret Service hoops to jump through? Did he have to... Were you signing autographs? Like, how did that work?
No, you know, it was interesting. You know, if there was a ton of Secret Service presence, boy, they were pretty well hidden. There were 2 Secret Service agents, and obviously there was a perimeter and other police presence, Park Police and others. But they were fairly unobtrusive. The kids felt like they had access to this man who's the president of the United States. And here are these 8, 9, and 10-year-olds hobnobbing and hanging out with the president. President telling about tadpoles. Hallie, there was one funny moment. One of the kids, he was talking about seeing whales migrating in Hawaii, and she said, "Oh, you grew up in Honolulu." He said, "Where's that?" She said, "Hawaii. You were born in Hawaii." He said, "Well, at least somebody knows where I was born."
Oh, that's funny, Al. I mean, that probably flew right over her head, but certainly not yours, you know.
But for the adults in the room, it was pretty good.
Was there anything about the interview that surprised you, Al? I know how much prep work that you put into these kinds of things. Was there anything that happened that you went, you know, I didn't expect him to say that, or I didn't expect this to happen?
I think he was pretty forthright about, we asked him about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin, and he answered as I expected, and I think he was pretty forthright I asked him about Crimea, and if he had did he have any regrets, or knowing what he knows now? And he said, look, every situation's different. You know, we could have done things differently, but those are the decisions we made with the information we had. But I also have to say, Hallie, look, you're a seasoned Washington pro, and we had our producer Kate Redding was amazing in this and organizing it. But I must say that what helped me immensely was, and I have to thank her and her producer, Kristen Welker and Sally Brunston. They helped me and helped Kate winnow down the questions to we ended up with 12 questions, and the question was, what was the over-under that we could get all 12 questions in 20 minutes? And we got them all in.
Doing it. Al, if there's anybody who can get something into time, my friend, I know it's you, okay, with what you do every day. That is so cool. Al, thank you so much for sort of pulling back the curtain and for sharing with all of us how the sausage is made, if you will, on such a big deal exclusive like this.
Sausage.
So, go have dinner, friend. Thank you. Appreciate it. See you tomorrow morning.
You bet.
Coming up here on the show, a first at first base, how one coach made baseball history and how MLB is trying to work towards more inclusivity. We've got that next. San Francisco Giants coach Alyssa Nakken getting a pretty special honor today. Her helmet sent over to the Baseball Hall of Fame this morning after a historic moment on the field last night. She became the first female coach to make an on-field appearance during a regular season MLB game. This was in the third inning of the game between the Giants and the Padres, after first base coach Antoine Richardson got thrown out of the game. After that, Knockin didn't just get to make history. She also got to see her team win big, with the Giants beating the Padres 13-2. Her big night came just days after another historic moment we saw last week. Rachel Balkovec becoming the first woman to manage a minor league affiliate of a Major League Baseball team. Chelsea Janes is joining us now to talk about this. And what's so interesting, Chelsea, is Knockin with very, very humble about this, telling the AP that yes, this is a big moment, but she's been training for this for a while. She says she was just doing what she was hired to do.
Yeah, I had the chance to talk to her a little bit last year, and one of the things that is very evident is that she does not want to put herself ahead of anyone, right? Like the whole goal of, being a first in baseball is that nobody notices you. I think that's how you get where she is, you get where Rachel Balkovec is, that, people don't notice you. You blend in, you're just like everyone else. And, I think it's very apparent that she's super qualified for this job, but she'd certainly rather not be talked about. But, something like this, it's kind of hard not to.
And it's not even the first for her, right? It's yet another first for her, because in 2020, she was the first woman coach hired by a major league team. Her jersey, we talked about her helmet at the Hall of Fame. Her jersey is already there. Pretty soon, I'm sure her cleats are going to be there too,
Oh, for sure. And it's interesting because she's just sort of absolutely not an attention seeker. Like I said, just kind of wants to be one of many there in San Francisco. And, I think she's been kind of put in this position in part because baseball players are getting used to all different kinds of people in their coaches' uniforms. It's no longer just guys that play it. It's the nerds, as they call them, who know all the data and give it to them. It's people that have different perspectives. And it's great. It's great that she's able to be there. And when you watch her interact with everyone, it's very clear that she belongs, and you almost don't notice her unless you're looking for her.
Yeah. When you talk about sort of pull back and look more big picture at MLB inclusivity, right? This is all happening a couple of days before the 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in Major League Baseball. A lot of people talk about and are talking about and will talk about, what steps the MLB has taken to be more inclusive. But there's also ways they still have to work toward, too.
I think that's true. I think they're very aware of the fact that, the number of Black baseball players has dropped over the years. They're doing everything they can to make the game more accessible to everybody, to people, all over the country. It's sort of ended up as a sort of rich, white people's sport. It costs a lot to play. Travel baseball was costly. It wasn't reaching everybody. And I think they're really trying to get it there. And not only that, but to create pipelines for different kinds of people. It's not the same old guys, moving into managerial roles or to executive roles. I think we're starting to open up those lanes to women. Raquel Ferreira is an assistant GM in Boston, one of the most storied franchises in the country. And, those doors are opening. And Kim Ng in Miami is a GM. She's in charge. It's happening. So, the moves are being made. But I think in both race and gender, Major League Baseball has a long way to go, to the point that some of these things are not talked about, but are a little less surprising, frankly.
Yeah. Chelsea Janes, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I appreciate it. Appreciate you talking us through that. That does it for us this hour on NBC News Now. We're going to have more for you here tomorrow, same time, same place. Glad you're with us. Coverage picks up right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.